Parashat Emor. The parasha begins with the following pasuk: Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, Emor el Kohanim bnei Aharon, ve'amarta alehem, lenefesh lo yitama ba'amav. Hashem says to Moshe, go tell the Kohanim, the sons of Aharon, and you shall tell them. And then it goes on to give the commandments for the Kohanim. Rashi picks up on the seemingly superfluous lashon, va'amarta alehem, go and tell them. The Torah already says, Hashem said to Moshe, say to the Kohanim, go and tell them. You just told me say to the Kohanim. Why repeat? Go and tell them. Says Rashi, this is to indicate that the Kohanim were also instructed to teach their children about the rules that were being transmitted to them. I think it's interesting, though, that the Torah chooses not to explicitly say that the Kohanim were told by Moshe Rabbeinu to teach their children the laws. Why does the Torah sort of swallow up this idea that the Kohanim were taught and were told to tell their children by saying something in a repetitive manner, by hiding this idea? Let the Torah explicitly say, Moshe Rabbeinu taught the Kohanim the rules that they needed to know, and then he said to them, go and teach your children these rules. Why hide it by saying, say to the Kohanim, and you shall say to them, you know what that means? That means they should teach their children. Say it explicitly. I think a big sword, a big fundamental idea, a hidden idea is here in the Torah, that the Torah wants us to appreciate. And it's a subtlety that we can all, not only Kohanim, all of us can learn from. The Torah is teaching us, how do I give something over to somebody else? How do I give something over? How do I transmit Torah? Such a delicate subject. Something that I'm meant to respect and love and make sense of all at once. How do I give that over to my child? The Torah says it's not just by instructing. It's not an explicit instruction, go and teach your son. No. Emor el Kohanim va'amarta alehem. Tell the Kohanim, don't just tell them to tell their children. Let them be aware of when they're listening to the rules that you say, that you teach them. That the way they behave, the way they accept these ideas and practice them, that in itself will be a saying over to their children. Because the only true way to transmit information, to transmit Torah to one's child, is by acting out the Torah. If you want your child to have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to keep Hashem's Torah, to walk in the path of the Torah, in any form of the Torah, whether it's legal, psychological, ben adam lehavero, between man and his fellow, ben adam leishto, between a husband and wife, a wife and husband, you have to emulate, you have to actually act those ideas out. It's not an explicit, go teach your children. It's the moment you hear this Torah, recognize that the way it sinks in and the way you act, that in itself is you telling it over to your child. That's why it's put together right at the beginning, not in an explicit manner. Moshe says to the Kohanim, and Moshe is told to tell the Kohanim, tell them, and let them be aware that the way they act this out, that will be telling to their children. And as we said, this is not only with regards to Kohanim. This is in every walk of life. We can't expect our children to be like robots listening to information and accepting it. They have to see us. It's our job to act these ideals out. And only then can we actually hope and expect of them to please God, continue the good ideas that we set forth. Shabbat Shalom.